All right, guys, this is another edition of DT Live. So it's the end of the year. I think it deserves a little time reflecting back on what was 2019, and we will look ahead at what to expect for 2020. Now, before we get started, you guys that are already hanging out in the chat, give me a yay or a nay on the audio, because, Pulse Audio. I do have my cup of coffee. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yay. All right. So several of you guys are already hanging out in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. I think we're going to have an interesting show tonight. I'll probably stream. I don't want to be on too long tonight, at least an hour or so, though. We'll discuss a few different things that happened in 2019, some of the bigger stories, anything that I don't cover, you guys want to bring up. Of course, I'll try to interact a little bit with you guys in the chat as well. Water Cooler says, DT, have you been asked this before? Why are you bald? I am not bald. I have hair. I have hair, guys. I'm not bald. I just shave my head. All right. I need like some kind of sticky on the channel. Like DT is not bald. That's like... It's called Notify Me When DT is Live. Yeah, you guys, some of you guys didn't get the notification. Yeah, I scheduled this one about 6 hours ago, so there was plenty of heads up for YouTube to send you guys a notification about the stream. I know sometimes they don't. That's why I also... If you're following me on Mastodon, and if you're not, you really should follow me on Mastodon. I also sent out a notice on Mastodon just in case, because being a person that follows a lot of people on YouTube myself, I know sometimes I don't get the notifications when some of the people I follow go live. So we got Deadpan is in the chat. Yeah, Pulse Audio works for a change. Yeah, Mike Long says good tone. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. Got Robert in the chat, Chris, Charles, Benjamin Eldridge. How you doing, Ben? Yeah, Raul says, hi, DT. How you doing, Raul? Of course, Alex is in the chat, but he wasn't here first today. And Big Pod. DT, how are the wife and kids? No wife, no kids, so... Are you asking me about my wife and kids or somebody else's? I don't know. Yeah, Java Man says, it's called an efficient hairstyle, right? I discovered about 15 years ago that hair was bloat, so I just decided to shave it off. I really was just cheap and didn't want to pay for haircuts, is the honest answer. I say 15 years ago, yeah. Actually, yeah, it was like 2003 I started shaving my head. Because I was a poor graduate student in college, and I couldn't really afford to have my hair cut like every 3-4 weeks. And, it's like $14 for the small town barber, the small town I was going to school in. I was like, you know what, I'll just cut my hair myself. So I got some electric shears and cut my hair for a while when I still had hair. I just trim it every couple of weeks. And then that got kind of tiresome. I'm like, you know what, I'm tired of cutting my own hair. I'll just shave. It'll be easier. Never went bad. So... I read Robbo is in the chat. How you doing, Rob? Yeah, Chris Lamb says, what did you study? I studied music, Chris, if that was for me. Yeah, the entire head is bloat. You should try going headless. All right. Well, I think we gave people a few minutes to get here. I'll give it another couple minutes just to give people plenty of time to get to the stream. But I will go ahead and cover some stuff. Yeah, DT's wife is Arch and his kids are the window managers. That's funny, Alex. That might be true, right? DT, you need to get someone or you will have a future, I predict, for myself. Alone. You know what? I think you'll be all right, Big Pod. I think I'll be all right as well. So, there's plenty of desperate women out there for us, Big Pod. They're not hard to find. Yeah, so greetings from Denmark. Thank you, sir. Yeah. And Blackworm says, hi, DT. Rick. Greetings, Derek. Hey, great. All right. I think we've given some folks some time. So one of the things I wanted to do is I was just reviewing some of what we did on the YouTube channel this year. So I scrolled back in my video history and I got to about the beginning of the year, which was right here. That was the first video, I think, of 2019. My 2019 window manager will be, and it was i3. And then I hopped to i3, and those videos were actually very popular. I was actually kind of surprised. I didn't know that many people were interested in i3. To be honest, I wasn't that interested in i3. It's not my favorite window manager. It's okay. I don't hate it. But a lot of people really liked the i3 stuff. And then, you know what? I just kept window manager hopping, mainly because when I switched to i3, I knew I wasn't going to stay on it, so I was immediately going to hop to something else. And of course, the next thing I went to was DWM, and from there, the journey just continued. We hopped to about 8 different window managers from January 1st, 2019 until today. I was on 8 different window managers over the course of 2019. And that's kind of become what has defined the channel, is what we did in this last year. Not that I didn't window manager hop a little bit in 2018, which was really the first year of the channel. I might have hopped 2 or 3 times to a couple of different desktop environments, window managers, but really that became like the primary focus for much of the content for 2019 was, hey, what window manager is DT going to be on this month? So that's kind of where it went. And it's like I said, it started January 1st. And, you know, just looking through some of the history of some of the stuff we did, we went full suckless. I tried DWM, of course, the Surf browser, the ST terminal, which that was February of 2019. I tried out the ST terminal. I still use the ST terminal. It's my terminal emulator of choice. I've just stuck with it. We started doing a lot of Vim content also. Those videos were very popular too. Again, surprisingly, you know, a lot of people were interested in Vim. Of course, you know, I played around with Gopher, the Gopher protocol, trying to get away from HTTP. We had a few videos over the course of the year that dealt with systemd. And those videos are controversial, I guess. Every time somebody mentions systemd, it's like the community goes crazy. Everybody argues about it. It's just a complete flame war. I've done 2 or 3 videos in 2019 about systemd specifically, and I know better than to make those videos. But at the same time, sometimes systemd is in the news, you know, some major event about systemd. I make the video anyway, knowing you guys are just going to completely lose your minds and go nuts. But hey, whatever. I ain't scared. Web apps aren't bloat. Use curl instead. That was an interesting video about using curl. We had some fun times there. We did the terminal rickroll, I think, in that video, which I still love. Bringing up the terminal rickroll. Let's see, we passed the 500 video mark, the 500 video celebration. So, and we did 500 videos in like a year and a half. That was, you know, just an insane amount of pace, you know, that pace. I couldn't keep it up. I slowed down a little bit. I'm not trying to do a video every day. I was averaging like 5 to 6 videos a week. I tried to, you know, back that up a little bit. If I can do 3 to 4 videos a week, that's plenty of content. Trying to put one out every day is just taxing. It's tiring. It burns you out. And quite frankly, if you want to do this and make it enjoyable and be in it for the long game, you don't want to burn yourself out on, you know, not doing YouTube. And back to some of the stuff. Of course, the Stallman stuff was one of the big topics. We'll get into that later when I really cover looking back on 2019. Some of the other stuff we got into. My Arch movie trailer was an interesting video. If you guys haven't checked that out. Me playing the trombone from a couple of weeks ago. Played a couple of Christmas tunes. I hadn't played the trombone in months, maybe almost a year. And I pulled it out for the first time that day. And I figured I would record it because I knew it was going to sound bad. and I wanted it to sound bad, and I wanted to put it out there in the public. That way, I'm much more likely to practice now. It's like, don't you want to sound better than this? And I do. I pulled it out once since then and played for about an hour, like last week. And I'm probably going to play a little bit this weekend. I've set aside some time to play with one of my nieces that's like 13 or 14. She plays the trombone. I sometimes give her private lessons. So I'm going to try to get back into playing shape. Emacs was a big topic this year as well. People are really liking the Emacs content on the channel. One more System D video. I asked 4chan for some advice in a thread on 4chan. That was actually quite entertaining. The guys on 4chan were actually very friendly to me. I was kind of shocked about that. A lot of you guys were shocked about that too. They love me on 4chan. So let me get a sip of coffee and I'll get back to the chat. Hey, DT, late to the party, says Tennessee Frank. No, we're just getting started. I really haven't even gotten into the main topic. That was just a little filler content, showing some of my video thumbnails, some of what we did in 2019. I've got the real content coming up in just a second, still just giving people plenty of time to get here. We've got about 130, 140 people in the chat. Probably most of the people that were planning to join the stream are already here. So I'll get into the topic in just a second. Let me catch up on the chat. Stallman will return with a vengeance, says Alex. I don't disagree. We'll get into that as well. Yeah, Benjamin says he's learning more about arrays. Some of it is clicking, some of it isn't. So Benjamin is doing a little program with arrays. Oh, what kind of programming are you doing, Benjamin? Are you doing like Bash or Python or? I'm sure you mentioned it in the chat, but I'll probably never find it in all the chat. Hey DT, how do you predict the Pine phone and the Librem? We're going to get into that. Don't worry about that. Again, I'm saving the real topics. Yeah. What's your setup and the software you use to record? You know what? Since we've got a couple more minutes I'm trying to kill, let's get into, matter of fact, that was part of 2019. Let's get back to some of the hardware. So 2019, let's talk about hardware. I bought a new computer in February. For those of you that have been following the channel for a while, my old computer was okay. It was kind of a higher end computer when I bought it 5-6 years ago. Obviously 5-6 years ago is not, suitable technology now as far as computers. They become obsolete kind of quickly. And I was struggling with some things. It took a long time to render video. I mean, it didn't take forever, but a 15-minute video might take an hour, hour and a half to render. I forget what it was. It was a long time. If I did a really long video, sometimes I do lengthy content, it's not unusual for me to, once a month make like an hour-long pre-recorded video. And that could take all day to render. And that was becoming annoying. Also, the CPU, other than the rendering, live streaming, the CPU could stutter sometimes during live streams. It wasn't that bad, but every now and then it might have a little bit of a hiccup. And I finally upgraded. I spent almost $3,000 on my current computer with, the Threadripper, the 12-core Threadripper. It's got the Radeon 7 graphics card. It's got 64 gigs of RAM. Yeah, I should pull up HTOP and let you see the 64 gigs of RAM and also the 32 threads that are going on, or the 24 threads that are going on. So it's 12-core, 24-thread Threadripper. As far as software, well, before we get into the software, also hardware purchases in 2019. About halfway through 2019, sometime in the summer, I bought the server rack that's got all the audio server stuff in it. It's got the mixing board, the preamp, the EQ, the compressor. Spent like $1,000 on that. That was a big purchase. Any other major hardware purchases? I don't think so. I thought that was, for hardware. I mean, that's like $4,000 worth of stuff. That should be enough as far as hardware. Yeah, but software. So typically what I use for software to do these streams or to do pre-recorded content, I do everything in OBS. So that is what I use to record. I use Kdenlive as a video editor. I make all my thumbnails, any kind of artwork I do on anything GIMP. GIMP is all I've used in the past 12 years. Audacity, if I need to edit any kind of audio, Audacity is typically what I use. If you're asking about the distro, right now I'm on Arco Linux. Been on Arco for a few months, 5 or 6 months probably. Loving it. Back to the chat for a second. Let's see. Yeah, audio HD is a bit bloat. Yeah. Of course, video is the real bloat. You know, we should just go audio only. Especially on stuff like this, you don't need to see me or anything on this kind of stream. I could just have done audio only and this would have been fine. Is there a video editor for Android and smartphones? I'm sure there is, but I don't know. Well, that would be weird trying to edit video on a smartphone. But I would bet they are. I'm thinking about getting textbooks for C, says Benjamin. He's trying to learn the C programming language. All right, guys. So I'm going to get into a topic, so I will step away from the chat for a second. All right, so let's look back a little bit on 2019. Some of this will be looking back on what we did on the channel. Some of it will be stuff that I didn't cover on the channel, but were big stories. So let's take a look at those big events in Linux during the past year, as well as, you know, some of the stories we covered on the channel. Maybe they weren't big events, but they were big events for me on the channel. So window manager hopping. So we started the year January 1st. I switched to i3. I was using, I think, Qtile for the end of 2018. I was like, you know what, we're going to start window manager hopping. Actually, I didn't plan on window manager hopping all the time, but that's what the channel became. And I went to i3, and then to DWM, then to Xmonad, then to Herbst Luft WM, then to Awesome, then to BSPWM, then back to Qtile, and I briefly checked out Stump WM. Wow, what an experience that was. So, window manager hopping was the big thing in 2019. Vim and Emacs, right? Started the year on Vim. Then my friendship with Vim ended and my friendship with Emacs started. And, you know, my Vim-centric content is some of my most popular videos, but people seem to be equally interested in some of the Emacs content. And they're not mutually exclusive. Like right now I'm using Doom Emacs, which basically tries to emulate everything about Vim in the text editor. So there is some crossover. If you're a Vim user, you can watch some of my Emacs content and get some really cool information out of it, and vice versa. So no, I won't be switching to VS Code. I don't know. Every time I do something about Vim or Emacs, hey man, when are you going to check out Microsoft's VS Code? It's like, guys, come on. Are you serious? All right, the death of Antergos. Antergos is now discontinued. So Antergos, those of you that are rather new to Linux and don't know, Antergos was a very popular Arch-based Linux distribution that's been around, I'd say, about 5 years or so. And it was kind of shocking because, again, it was popular. It was like top 5 in DistroWatch, or top 10 at least. And then they announced in May, hey, due to time, as far as time for development, you know, their volunteer development team, they weren't getting paid, you know, it was just their free time. Like, hey, dude, we don't have time to work on this distribution anymore. It's over. So if you were on Antergos, eventually the repos just switched over to your standard Arch repos, and it just became a Arch install. You guys that want a spiritual successor to Antergos, a lot of the guys went over and started a new project called Endeavor OS, which seems to be gaining some popularity. I've checked out 1 or 2 of their releases in the past year, and it is not bad, especially if you like XFCE. Their flagship edition is XFCE for the desktop environment, but it is actually a really polished, clean distribution. Another big event in 2019, Arch changes the installation process. So I made a video about 4 months ago, installing Arch. It was like the Arch installation guide. And, I put a lot of effort into making that video. And it became a very, very popular video for the channel. Like, it just tens of thousands of people watched it, within a month. Well, that was great. About 3 weeks after I posted that video, Arch changed the installation process, causing me a lot of grief because I get 10, 20 messages a day, comments on the video or in Mastodon, on various other social media outlets. Hey man, I followed your installation guide, I rebooted the machine, and it doesn't boot up. I just come to a grub prompt. This is so painful. Alright, so the Arch guys removed the Linux kernel from the base install. Don't ask me why. I'm not an Arch dev, and if I was, I would have argued against doing that. But yes, if you're rebooting and you're getting that grub prompt, sudo pacman-S Linux. That's right, you have to install Linux now in Arch Linux. Several other people have messaged me about, hey, I'm running the command you're running, which is nano and then name a file, or vim, name a file. I forget what I was using in that. I probably used nano, knowing that it was be more for newer users. Neither nano or vim are installed on the base Arch install anymore. You don't have a text editor anymore. So yes, you have to install nano if you want to use nano, or vim if you want to use vim. Man pages are also now removed from Arch in the base install. So you have to install man pages if you want to read man pages. I can't remember if they left the links browser, the web-based or the text-based browser there in case you needed to look up documentation. Hopefully they did, but it wouldn't surprise me if they removed that too. They removed a bunch of stuff from the base install. So why did they do that? Shortly after I made that video, did the Arch devs do this because of my video? I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think the Arch devs would be that mean to me, though. I've done a lot for Arch in the past couple of years. The least they could have done is given me a heads up. Hey, dude, your video. Hey, we're about to change everything. Yeah, and somebody in the chat is like, yeah, they did that because they wanted to remove all the noobs. Yeah, the Arch install process is actually not that hard. Making it that much harder does, thin out the herd a little bit. So, looking back on 2019, of course, one of the biggest stories of the year, and certainly one of the biggest topics I covered on the channel in, I think, 3 videos. The very first video I made on this topic, should Linus Torvalds and Richard Stallman speak for us, the Linux community, the free and open source software community? And I did not speak in that. I did not want to give my commentary on what I personally think about Linus Torvalds or what I personally think about Richard Stallman. I think some of you guys would be surprised about how I feel about each of those. And I don't feel the same way about one as I do the other. So I'll just leave that out there. But anyway, I made this montage of them acting in less than friendly ways toward people in the community. And sometimes their behavior was completely erratic. You see Richard Stallman just throwing a fit and slamming a microphone on a table and just doing weird things. And, I got this montage of all these clips of these guys doing really crazy stuff. And I put it out there. It's like, hey, do you like what you see from these guys? Are these the guys that should be leading the movement? And I put it out there. People were like, well, why are you trying to throw shade on Linus and RMS? And I put that video out there, I'll be honest. Richard Stallman, especially, was starting to really rub people the wrong way. Like, people talk about the cancel culture. Well, there is, the overreaction where somebody says something that's, politically incorrect, maybe, and some people just overreact. And then there are those people that know what they're going to say is going to get that reaction and go out of their way to do it anyway. And you started getting that feeling from Richard. He was going out of his way to make people angry. And when you start making people angry that are your boss, which is eventually what Richard Stallman did. Anyway, so I made that video. And it's like, hey, you like what you're seeing from RMS? Because eventually he's going to get into some serious hot water acting the way he does. And people were like, man, you're just a hater and all this. 10 days after I made that first video, Richard Stallman was asked to resign from MIT because he went on a MIT mailing list defending Jeffrey Epstein, or not Jeffrey Epstein, but Marvin Minsky, who was a professor at MIT, who since died, but he was friends with Epstein. Anyway, it was a big uproar. And MIT basically forced the guy to resign. Shortly after that, the Free Software Foundation demanded his resignation. He resigned from the Free Software Foundation. He is still involved with the GNU Foundation, as far as I know of, and that has caused some concern from the Free Software Foundation because they work so closely with GNU. It's like, hey, we didn't want this guy in the Free Software Foundation, and we still work with you guys. What exactly is your relationship with Richard Stallman, and what is his relationship with us going to be? And I don't think they've still rectified that. Some other notable events, just briefly: Microsoft Edge coming to Linux. So, and I actually got on this really early when Microsoft announced that they were moving the Edge browser to a Chromium base. Like a week after they made that announcement, I made a video saying, basically, will Microsoft Edge come to Linux? I actually said, I think they will. I was like, why wouldn't they? They're pushing free and open source software, right? They're the new open source company. They heart open source. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just open source Edge? You're going to move it to this open source Chromium based engine. And why don't you just bring it to Linux? And that's what they're doing. So months later, after I made that video, they just announced it just a couple of weeks ago. Yes, Microsoft Edge is in fact going to come to Linux. I don't know how many people will actually use it. I'm sure some people will. I don't hate having another browser option on Linux. Pine phones and the Librem 5 were big stories this past year. Do I think they will succeed? I doubt it. Pine phones, I guess, stand a chance. The Librem 5 has not, they haven't lived up to any of their promises yet. It seems like they keep getting delayed, and the price is just outrageous for these devices. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But no, I've been around Linux long enough. I've seen enough of these phone companies, these new phones with new mobile operating systems crop up all the time, and they've all failed. You guys remember things like Tizen, Sailfish, and so many others. I could probably name a dozen others. Remember the Ubuntu Edge, when they did their crowdsourcing, of course, Ubuntu Touch, which is now, I guess it's still being developed, but of course, Canonical got out of it. Then Google announced it recently. This was like last week news. Google announced its plan to migrate Android to the mainline Linux kernel. So that was 2019. And here in a minute, you guys saw I predicted some things in 2019, even when they were unpopular, like the RMS stuff. I'm not going to say I called it, but yeah, I got that one right. And Microsoft Edge coming to Linux, yeah, I got that one right. I'm going to throw out some stuff for 2020. And don't be surprised if I nail all these. So, yeah, so back to the chat for a second. I had a super chat there. Sorry I missed that. Josh says, Happy National Fruitcake Day. I don't like fruitcakes. Yeah, they're all right. It's not my favorite food, but thank you for the super chat. Yeah, leave it to the Linux haters to tear down our leaders. I don't think MIT, like the president of the university or whoever made RMS resign, knows anything about Linux or even cares. I don't think anybody hating Linux had anything to do with the RMS thing. I think his problem was just, hey, he works for this educational institution, this prestigious, well-known school, and he just wasn't good for business. It's just bad optics having that guy around saying what he was saying it to students and a MIT mailing list especially. Yeah, Big Pod says, I will use it. Microsoft Edge, I know you would, Big Pod. Matter of fact, I think you should make some videos about it. I'll watch them if you do. Which is the phone that doesn't make calls? There's probably a few, yeah. And somebody's like, yeah, I remember Sailfish and Tizen, yeah. Yeah, Librem doesn't make calls. PinePhone has, yeah. What they should do is switch focus and make floss-compatible tablets, yeah. Yeah, that stands a better chance than the phones, I would, yeah, because I think you could create like a GNU/Linux tablet and make that experience much better than what people expect out of a phone. People use phones to do real work. I'm not that, you don't do real work on tablets, but sometimes you expect a lot more out of your phone, at least I do in my life, than anything I expect out of a tablet. Yeah, so what is your personal opinion on RMS? I think he is reasonable. We won't get into that. I think highly of them. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Because we could go into a big, long topic of, things he's done over the years and why I think highly of him. We won't. But yeah, I think very highly of Richard Stallman. As far as what he's done, now, seeing the guy, how he acts in person, he seems very unpleasant to be around. Like, he's not probably a guy you want to hang out with at a bar and have a beer with. But what does that matter, right? Yeah, Penguin Revolution. I'll be reviewing MS Edge when it's released. I'll be checking for that one. Yeah. Yeah. What version of Arco Linux? I can't remember what version I installed. It was either the Awesome Window Manager version or the BSPWM version. Or it could have been the Xmonad version. I've installed like 4 or 5 different versions of Arco on this machine and on my laptops. Can't remember which one I started with. One of the Tiling Window Manager versions, and then I pull down all my Tiling Window Manager configs, and I've got like 7 or 8 Tiling Window Managers. Pretty much just overwrite their configs with my configs. But it's just an easy install, so. But I do like their base configs. Like if you want a good, awesome window manager experience, Arco's awesome. It's not bad. If you want a good BSPWM out of the box, their BSPWM edition also really, really good. Yeah, I would love some video tutorials on Lemon Bar in 2020. I don't know Lemon Bar. As far as standalone panels, the only thing I ever use personally on floating window managers that don't come with a panel, I typically use Tent2 because it's very light, minimal, not much to it. My kind of panel. On tiling window managers, most of them come with their own panel. Well, maybe not most of them, but a lot of them come with their own panel. Awesome comes with its own panel, and it's great. Why would I swap that out for something else? I wouldn't. Qtile comes with its own panel, and it's great. You would never swap out the panel in Qtile with a third-party panel. You just wouldn't do it. Now, some things don't come with their own panel. Xmonad does not come with its own panel, but there is a panel written in Haskell designed just for Xmonad called Xmobar, so that's what I use in that. Polybar I've used with things like i3 and BSPWM. It's not bad. And Polybar, it's easy to config, and I've already got a config file for it. I'm not looking for another panel because all the panels do the same thing. They really do. I mean, they show you the workspace you're on. They may show you the name of the window that has focus. That's about it. I mean, what are you trying to get out of a panel? One panel that the next panel won't have. And to be honest, panels are kind of bloat. Now, on my system, because I have a 3-monitor system, I like having a panel because each monitor is on a different workspace. I like knowing which workspace I just switched to. Now, if I only had a single monitor system, I may not even run a panel because it would be unnecessary. If it's just one monitor, I know what workspace I'm on, the one I just went to. Now, with 3 monitors, yeah, it's hard to keep up with exactly where you're at. Yeah, I like the i3 bar with i3 blocks. Yeah, that seems to be the popular one with i3. I haven't checked out i3 blocks. Maybe I should at some point. I eventually need to revisit i3 because I haven't tried it out since January of this year. You know, it's been almost a year. And it was an okay experience. Again, not my favorite tiling window manager. It's just, you know, I like dynamic tilers, and i3 is more manual. Polybar is better than i3 blocks. Yeah, like I said, any panel, they're all the same. I mean, better in what way? They all show the same information. All right. So let's get into my predictions for 2020. All right, so 2020 is upon us. You know, the new year was what? Wednesday, just a few days away. So what does 2020 hold in store for us, the Linux community? Oh, or for the channel here? You know what? Here's some bold predictions about 2020 and Linux. And this one is really 2 predictions, but they're very similar. So number 1 and number 1A. Arch will continue gaining in popularity. Arch has become very popular in recent years, and really over the last year especially. 2019 was a good year for Arch Linux. Arch has become the base for so many popular distributions, but also Arch itself. More and more people are just starting with Arch. When I make Arch installation videos, and I've made a few of them over the last couple of years, new to Linux users watch those things, install Arch, and then I hear from them. Hey man, this is great. Love this. I'd never try out another distribution. Boom, done. Like I've never had anybody install Arch, get it installed, run it, and then like, man, that thing was so bad. You know, I had to go. Now people hop, but nobody tells me Arch is trash. You don't hear that. So, and Arch, again, it's becoming very, very popular. And number 1A is Arco Linux, which I'm running now. Arco Linux is going to be a top 10 distro in DistroWatch this year. By the end of this year, it's going to crack the top 10. Arco Linux is definitely on an uptick. I think it will be as popular as Manjaro. I think it will rival Manjaro as being that Arch-based distribution you want to install if you don't want to install Arch the Arch way. I think Arco Linux will crack the top 10 and DistroWatch possibly crack the top 5. Now, those were my numbers 1 and 1A prediction. Now, why do I think those predictions are going to come true? Gaming is driving a lot of that adoption. Rolling releases are going to have the latest kernels, the latest video drivers with Steam and Proton. You know, you need the latest software. You need the latest drivers, and you can't get that on a static release distro, or you can, but you have to jump through some hoops. Where a rolling release, you always have the latest kernel. You always have the latest video drivers. So it just makes sense. When ProtonDB did a survey recently, of those that responded to the survey, 1 out of every 3 people that responded to the ProtonDB survey were running either Arch or Arco Linux. I think Arch had 17.5% of the vote, and Arco had 17.5, or not Arco, Manjaro. Manjaro had 17.5% of the vote. So 35% of those that responded to that survey were running either Arch or Manjaro. That's crazy. No one would have even fathomed something like that just a few years ago. So rolling releases, I think, also are becoming more popular because they seem to be becoming more stable than they were in years past, especially many years past. When I tried things like Arch and Gentoo 5 years ago, it seems like they broke on me a lot more than they do these days. Debian Stable, same way, used to break on me, unstable that is, used to break on me a lot. 10 years ago especially, when you go back 10 years, yeah, it was but now, rolling release distros seem to be more the norm. A lot more people are running them. I think because more people are running them, they're becoming stable. The developers are spending a lot more time on that. And just quickly, there was a super chat here from a water cooler. Appreciate that, buddy. He says, love you, DT. Thank you. Really appreciate that. All right. So there was numbers 1, Arch will continue gaining popularity, and 1A, Arco, will be a top 10 Linux distribution. Number 2, Windows 7 will end of life very soon, but I predict Linux will not see any significant increases from this. Windows users have never looked to Linux as an option before, and I've been around long enough to see Microsoft wet the bed a few times. The biggest chance we ever had as far as getting more Linux adoption because Windows sucks so bad, Vista. We didn't see major increases from Vista. Now, we gained a few people, but it wasn't, no major increases. Windows 8 wasn't popular. Recently, the very bad updates in Windows hasn't driven people away. The spyware that everybody knows is in Windows. If you're privacy oriented in any way, you probably don't want to be on Windows, but still, those people are not looking to Linux as an option. Now, my prediction for number 3, what are they looking to? Chromebooks. Chromebooks and Chrome OS will become the major competitor to Windows. It probably already is, but definitely this next year, Chromebook sales are through the roof. Chromebooks are commonplace in schools now, at least here in the U.S., especially elementary schools, high schools. You see kids with Chromebooks now. At the university level, I guess, where people typically need to do a little more work than what a Chromebook will allow. Of course, Apple still owns that space. You see MacBooks everywhere on university campuses. But in K through 12, Chromebooks are everywhere in our schools now. So Chrome OS is going to become the major competitor to Windows very shortly. Probably already more popular than Mac OS is. Certainly much more popular than your standard GNU/Linux is or ever will be probably. Number 4. Now, you want to talk about a bold prediction. Flatpak will become the de facto standard in distro-agnostic package formats. Now, why do I say that? Well, I say that for a few reasons. For one thing, we have several of these formats available to us, including snaps and app images. And I will tell you, of the 3, snaps, Flatpak, app images, my least favorite, typically the one I go to last, is Flatpak. I like snaps. Snaps just work. They're easy to install. App images, like app images. I really wish we would see more adoption of app images. There's no company behind app image. Nobody's pushing app image. Flatpak is going to see a lot more adoption. They're already seeing more adoption, but really, I think most Linux distros that are looking for distro-agnostic package formats, they're all going to start just having Flatpak support out of the box. And much of this is due to the community typically likes to adopt anything that Canonical is not adopting. They want to do the opposite of anything that Canonical is doing. A lot of the community, a lot of the other Linux distributions just shun everything that Canonical and Ubuntu is doing. This has been the case in the past. It will continue to be the case. A lot of this is Canonical's own fault. Things like the contributor's license agreement has hurt them in the past, where anytime you contribute something to a Canonical project, you have to agree to this contributor license agreement. And a lot of people don't like that. Having proprietary backends to some of your services, like the Snap servers, that doesn't help. But some of it is just, a lot of people love to hate Canonical. So Flatpak is going to become the de facto standard in these distro-agnostic package formats. And I'm okay with that. Again, I actually prefer snaps. I actually really prefer app images. nobody is promoting app images. I wish they would. Maybe I should spend more time promoting app images on the YouTube channel. Prediction number 5. Microsoft will buy Canonical. Yeah, I'm just going to put that out there. I think because of number 5, it will also have a side effect. See prediction 1, Arch will continue gaining popularity. So there you go. My 5 predictions for 2020. Just briefly review. Arch will continue gaining popularity. Arco will be a top 10 in DistroWatch. Number 2, Windows 7 end of lives here in just a few weeks, and Linux will not see any significant increases from that at all. Chromebooks, Chrome OS, yeah, just rule the world. Number 4, Flatpak becomes the standard. And number 5, Microsoft will buy Canonical. What do you guys think? How crazy am I? What are your predictions? I mean, throw anything out there. As far as stories that were big in 2019 I didn't cover, also 2020 predictions. Any of you guys want to share what you've got in the chat? Let me go back to the chat. Yeah, only Nitrix cares about app images. Yeah, but Nitrix went about it in a weird way. At least I haven't checked any of their latest editions, but there for a while, Nitrix, all they wanted you to install was app images, which there's just not enough app images out there. Like, I like that they're pushing app images, but they went about it in a way that was, like, how are you going to just build a distro around app images? You can't. Yeah, who needs Flatpak if you have the AUR? People that are not running Arch. Also, sometimes, I mean, yeah, the AUR, you get a lot of proprietary software, but some people are running distros where proprietary software is not going to be found in any of your standard repos. And the easiest way to get that is through Snaps, Flatpak, app image. So, I've had a super chat here. Thank you, Blackworm. Appreciate that. He says his 2020 prediction is that Easy Anti-Cheat and the Epic Launcher will be coming to Linux with Wine Proton-like implementation for the Windows-only games. What are your thoughts? I think that has a good shot of happening. The Easy Anti-Cheat thing is long overdue. It's what's preventing so many games from coming to Linux, is not having the Easy Anti-Cheat. So I think that is a good prediction. I think that one, I would give that like a 90% chance of happening, actually. Yeah, and Tennessee Frank says, app image is nice because dependencies are baked in. Why is Arch gaining popularity? Because of gamers? Yeah, that's what's driving a lot of it. I think even non-gamers, though, are adopting Arch because I think more and more people see that rolling releases are not scary. More and more people are seeing the benefit of running a rolling release rather than a static release. Just not having that headache of every 6 to 9 months having to wipe out your drive and reinstalling, you know. When you tell people that, I mean, that gets everyone excited, right? What? I don't have to reinstall, you know, twice a year? Because I promise you people that are running Ubuntu and Fedora and things like that, you don't like having to reinstall. You know you don't. And you're like, well, there's an upgrade path. How often does that upgrade bork on you and you end up having to format the drive and reinstall anyway? Because it's this massive update. You know, when you do an update of like 1,000 packages or more, things tend to break. That's just even on static releases and we're rolling releases. So the update, yeah, the update, most of the time it will work. A lot of the time, though, you know, at least in my experience running static release distros and doing the upgrade path every 6 months or 9 months, depending on whatever distro it is, like 1 in 3 will break on you. It may not be major breakages, like it'll reboot and everything kind of works for you, but you know it's not quite right, and you're like, you know what, I should just format the drive and start with a clean install anyway. Yeah, wouldn't it be funny if Epic Game Store is ported using Proton, says Morality. Yeah, water cooler, Flatpak will be huge when Wayland can run most apps. Yeah, I'm still waiting on Wayland. Yeah, what's your prediction about VS Code? I think VS Code will keep doing what it's doing. It's a very popular text editor. I think it will continue to be a very popular text editor. Yeah, please make ZFS and BGFS related videos in 2020. Possibly. Maybe. We'll see. Get into some file system stuff. Maybe. I just hope that GIMP, Inkscape, etc. will become just as good as the Adobe programs. I think they're getting close. And we may get into some of that content that Deadpan just mentioned. You know, I should do more stuff with GIMP on the channel since I use GIMP all the time. I don't think I've ever made a video about GIMP, like how to use GIMP. And I can get around in GIMP pretty good. We should make some GIMP content. You know, the things I use on a daily basis. You know, since I obviously have made a ton of videos, I know a little bit about how to play around in Kdenlive. OBS. I've made a couple of videos about OBS for those of you that are interested in, you know, streaming with OBS. I've done some content about that in the past. Yeah, Big Pod says easy anti-cheat won't come to Linux, in his opinion. That's unfortunate if that turns out to be true. Yeah, Joe Panico, happy holidays, my friend. Thank you, Joe. I know it's a late Merry Christmas, and it's an early Happy New Year, so Happy New Year. And we're in that weird in-between time. I should have just said Happy Holidays as well. Yeah. And plus, you know, anybody that's celebrating Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or anything else that is going on or has been going on. My prediction, says Windows Enthusiast, is that DT will Window Manager hop. I don't know. I think I will revisit some of the window managers I've hopped to in the past, revisit them, make some content, you know, go more in depth on some of those. But I mean, I've covered most of the big stuff. Like, I would have to get into some really weird window managers at this point if I window manager hopped all the time. I mean, you're starting to get into things like rat poison, which I have absolutely no interest in hopping to. People ask about, you know, or CDE, the common desktop environment. No, I'm not running that. All right, back to the chat. Yeah, Donnie says, because DT keeps promoting Arch. Well, what? Yeah, I do keep promoting Arch. I'm not sure what that was in response to. Maybe Arch gaining in popularity. I don't know. Yeah, I hope Prediction 5 happens, says Big Pod. Microsoft buying Canonical. Why do you hope that happens? I'm just curious. I don't care either way personally, but it's just like you're rooting for it. So, you see that as a good thing for Microsoft or for Canonical or for the community? What's your take on that? Yeah, DT, I have an Ubuntu computer that has been running since 904, and I've upgraded every 6 months, and the drive has never been formatted. Wow, 904. That's impressive. So 904, that was Jaunty Jackalope. That was a good distribution. Funny name, good distribution. One of the best Ubuntus, 904. That was when they still had the brown color scheme. You know, they didn't switch over to the crazy purple color scheme until, what, 1004? Yeah, DT will window manager hop to window maker and CWM. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Keep them crossed. Yeah, I predict DT will switch to Stump WM. I've still got it installed. I may log back into it eventually and give it another shot, but man, it was not good. Yeah, DT and Luke Smith, I feel, are a large reason why Arch has become so popular recently. Could be. But I mean, Arch has been on an uptick anyway for 4 or 5 years. I mean, before, I've only been on YouTube like 2 years. And Luke Smith has only been on YouTube for 2 or 3 years as well. Yeah, so Penguin Revolution says, I still have the disc for Jaunty Jackalope too. Yeah, you got the CD for it. You got one of the official CDs that you got from the CD sharing program that they used to have, where you could actually request a free CD of Ubuntu. Yeah, I remember that program. Yeah, Big Pod on the Microsoft buying Canonical thing. He says, I think it will be a good thing for every side, but especially for Linux adoption. Microsoft will obviously gain a lot, especially on the cloud. Well, that's why they would buy Canonical, is for the cloud stuff, right? And possibly start pushing VDI. Okay. I mean, that's what they would want Canonical for. Is Canonical's big on the server right now, right? Yeah, Doomer Guy says, hello, DT. It's been a while. Hi, Doomer. And then we've got Piken or Picken Void Master Race. Yeah, so I guess you're on Void Linux. Void seems like a nice distro. I've thought about switching, hopping to Void, giving it a shot. I know I would miss the AUR, though. Void's repos are pretty good. I mean, I've played around in Void a little bit, so I know the repos have most of what I need. Unlike another independent distro I've thought about switching to and giving a shot, Solus, the Solus repos are not going to work for me. This is just missing too much stuff that I use. And I don't like compiling. I'm not building anything from source. I'm sorry. Not on a binary distro. Yeah, hey DT, what's your opinion on the monopoly Google has on search engine software? Don't have much of an opinion on that one. I mean, these companies that gain these monopolies, especially on the internet, what can you do about it until there's viable alternatives that people want to use? Kind of like people always, DT, why are you on YouTube? Where else would I post videos? Where else would I post a video that anybody would watch? Where would I post a video that you could even find my video if it's not on YouTube? Think about that. I could post a video that would get 10,000 views on YouTube, and I could publish that same video to pick any other alternative platform you want to name, BitChute, DTube, PeerTube, and a dozen others. And seriously, I would be lucky to get 10 people. That's why, you have to have alternatives to these things. That's why Google is successful. Try DCSH on video. Do you think you spammed that enough times? You only posted it like 6 times in a row. But I'm going to have to say no on that one. Just for the spam. Matter of fact, I may just ban TCSH. I'll put it in my blacklist of words, like, I'll never accept another comment about TCSH again. Yes, I'm that petty. You really don't know who you messed with. All right. Yeah, off the cuff. Thanks for the super chat. Show us how to set up a crypto wallet on Linux. Yeah, I've thought about getting into some of the crypto stuff because honestly, I don't know much about it. And the technology does interest me. And that's the best stuff as far as me making videos, is stuff that interests me. Because, then it's fun. It's me getting in there and learning something new, and that's the kind of stuff I like, So maybe. DT, are you sleepy? A little bit. You guys caught me too after a pretty rough workout at the gym. We've been hitting it hard at the gym the last couple of weeks, especially, and trying to get, as much in here at the end of the year as I can. Got a little time off. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Doomer says, have some support, big man. Thank you, Doomer. Appreciate that. Yeah, Monero, baby, says Mitchell. So Monero, one of the cryptocurrencies. All right. All right, guys. Well, I wanted to stream for about an hour, and we're at the hour mark, so I'll stay on about 2 or 3 more minutes. Any of you guys got any last-minute questions, comments, anything you want to get in on the chat? That way it is forever here for all of eternity in history, anybody that watches this. And who knows, somebody in the year 2030 may come back and watch DT's video predicting 2020. It could happen. So take the comments and questions seriously. Water cooler, DT, have some good sleep. I plan on doing that. Oh, by the way, speaking of needing some rest, I probably won't do much on the channel until the new year. So, which is only in about 5 days anyway. But in the next 5 days, the only thing I know I'm going to do, I got to get a December patrons chat in. Probably going to do that this Sunday. I'll probably schedule that as soon as this one's over. So Sunday, I'll probably do the chat with patrons for the month of December. Other than that, I'm not going to do any videos. I'm not going to do anything Saturday. I'm not going to do anything Monday or Tuesday for sure next week because I'm going to be tied up with some other stuff. Then January 1st, we'll be back. We'll hit it hard. We're going to hit the ground running for the new year. Got some stuff planned. Don't worry. It's going to be fun. Nothing controversial. At least for a couple of days. All right. Yeah, DT, much love. Ask people to please give an upvote, says Off the Cuff. Yeah, man, thumbs up the video. I haven't actually been previewing the video, but over 200 of you people are still here at the end of the stream. And I've only got 55 thumbs up. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, Penguin Revolution, DT is awesome. You're awesome, Penguin. Thank you, sir. All right, yeah. So Joe Panico says, another tech channel stated recently when Linux and Microsoft came up that the Microsoft agenda meant, embrace, extinguish. Yeah, embrace, engage, extinguish. He thinks Linux is doomed, basically. Yeah, but Microsoft buying Canonical is not buying Linux. Not even close. So they might extinguish Canonical, but Linux is going to be just fine. There's plenty of Linux users that don't even know Canonical as a company even exists. Yeah. Joe says, not sure what rock he lives under. Yeah, I agree. That's strange. Yeah, Mr. GFY, DT have been using custom Linux kernels. Try out Linux Fsync, Linux CK, and Linux Zen. Yeah, we may do some of that too. Heard good things about the Zen kernel. Yeah, Penguin, thumbs up. Thank you. Hey, DT, were you or have you ever worked as a senior system admin? Is your soul crushed by the corporate world like mine? I have never worked as a sysadmin, never worked in IT, I've never worked in any computer-related field. Ever. So, no. So, soul's still intact. Yeah, Doomer says he just thumbs it up. Thanks, Doomer. DT, how do you feel about the meme about you? Yeah, it was an interesting meme they posted over on Reddit. Those of you that are not sure what he's talking about, click the community tab on my YouTube page, and you'll see what some folks, a little Photoshop job somebody did with me. Posted it over at r/Linux memes. Yeah, Big Pod says, Microsoft for the win. You are a confused individual, Big Pod. Rooting for Microsoft. I guess there are worse companies to root for, like Facebook and Google. Yeah, the same tech also said he would not be surprised if a Microsoft Linux comes out. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Well, if they buy a company like Canonical, then they don't have to make their own Linux distribution because they already will have one at that point. Of all the southern accented Linux YouTubers, DT is the best, says Morality. Well, okay, thank you, Morality. Put me in a very small niche where I couldn't help but win. So, all right, guys. Well, let me get out of here. I appreciate you guys. It's been a fun time here. Looking back at 2019, it was a great year. Just looking back at, you know, all the topics we covered on the channel even. I mean, we had some good times, and I hope you guys enjoyed the comment. I thought we did some good stuff in 2019, and I'm looking forward to doing some big things in 2020. Got some things planned. Some big things planned. So those of you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, obviously you should be subscribed. Those of you that are subscribed, if you're not also following me on Mastodon, look for DistroTube over at mastodon.technology. Follow me on Mastodon because I typically post there. Anytime I post a video, I'll post a link to it on Mastodon as well. So if you're complaining about the YouTube notification system being broken, that helps solve some of that problem. Thanks for the super chat off the cuff. The best OS does not exist. Have you ever heard of Plan 9? Yes, I have. From Bell Labs, it's amazing. I'll take your word on it. All right. Daniel says, thanks for all the content and streams, DT. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, let me go ahead and get out of here. Of course, I want to thank all of you guys that are still hanging out here. Man, there's a million of you guys hanging out in the YouTube chat. Way too many to name. I want to thank, of course, the patrons here. So all these guys that help support my work over on Patreon. Without these guys, I couldn't do what I do, right? So all the equipment and everything. I mean, you guys fund the channel. You guys fund the hardware. You guys fund basically my time doing this. I mean, I do enjoy this, but I'm glad I don't go broke doing YouTube like some people probably do. Some people, it's probably not fun to do YouTube. I still love it. Love making these videos. Love doing these streams, and I'm just so thrilled to still be around. Thank you guys. All right, peace.